Thank you, Rajesh, for the nice introduction. I really appreciate it. Um, Good morning, students. It is nice to have interact with you guys. How many? I would like to have this session more interactive. So I would like to know how many are interested to start a startup. If you are interested, type S in the chat box. Just letter S in the chat box. Yeah, so I see quite a good number of aspirants there, right? So let's get started. What actually is a startup? Uh, what are the resources that you need to do a startup, and then find the source of funding, and at the same time to make it a successful startup. Let me start sharing my screen. Yeah, let me know when you're able to see my screen. Is everyone able to see my screen? Rajesh, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what actually a startup company is, right? What actually a startup is? It's a company, a partnership, or a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. This startup concept really started during the dot-com bubble in late 90s, right? When the dot-com boom started up, that's when the startup boom has started. Many people has come up with innovative ideas on the technology side and started their startups. But every new or small company is not a startup. For example, my company is not a startup because yes, we have started a company, but we did not started with any innovative idea or anything. We just pooled some resources, used them, and started a company. So there is a lot of difference between a startup and a small company. Every new or small company is not a startup, but most of them are startup. But not every company is a startup. And startup, most of you are from computer science background or the IT background. Uh, Most of the startups today are based upon the technology. It's not just the technology. When I say the technology, it's not just the software, but also there are many innovations around mechanical or electronics and electrical side also. In startup, you need to take high risk. At the same time, you will also have the high rewards. So what is the key for a startup? You need to come up with an innovative idea. Once you come up with an innovative idea, you need to check whether my idea is even good right now. Say, um, for example, right? And the market change is day to day. In 1950s, 60s, the TV market was a boom. If you need to watch any movie or anything, the only way is was TV. When the DVR came, it disrupted the TV market because you can have your own DVR at home and sit and watch the movies, right? Now later we have now OTT platforms and everything. So you need to be ready if anything comes and disrupts that particular market also. And also Facebook, Twitter disrupted the online social market, online social networking. Before we used to have Orkut and many other social networking. When the Facebook and Twitter has come, it disrupted like the other startups or the other companies. So you need to do a market research to validate your idea. You need to assess and based upon like what is the current trend. Based upon that, you need to come up with ideas and concepts. At the same time, you need to assess like how much revenue it can generate in the present market, and at the same time like what will be the future of this idea, how I can be more scalable if the market changes, right? We need to keep that as well in the mind. The next thing is of the intellectual property. the the idea that came to you, right? You own it only like if you are not using any of these resources. If say for example the idea came from a course or project in your university, right? University is doing some project and you have taken a subset of it. You cannot say that, oh okay, this is my idea. It's the intellectual property of the university, or that particular college, or if you have built it in a group. Example, like you are not the only one, but three or four people collectively, along with your instructors or with your professors, in the college terminology, with your professors. If you have built up like that, like you collaboratively own that IP. You will individually not own the IP. When I say IP, it's the intellectual property. Intellectual property for any company is the key. And at the same time, if you are using the university resources to develop your idea or to develop the prototype, you cannot say it is my own property, because at the same you're using the uh, uh, university resources like servers, libraries, computers, etc. And if you are using any university intellectual property also, your idea is not like owned by you. It is owned collectively by the university, or collectively owned by group of people who came together and developed it. Uh, so what does a minimal startup team look like from uh, from a development team perspective? You need to have a developer who writes the most of the code. You need to have a manager who handles the business side, like business analyst, and also a designer. For every product, the UI, the look and feel is the key, right? Some teams may have like more developers than just one, because obviously you have like you need to build a big project. You need to have couple of developers. Only one developer cannot do everything. For example, you are building like uh, you have come up with an innovative idea of digitizing the agriculture sector, right? For example, say for agriculture sector, the storage of the goods produced are the key. Say there are cold storages all over the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, if you are taking these two states, and your project is to give the farmer, based upon some algorithm, what is the nearest location where he can store his goods. Now for that, you need to maintain a database. You need to have a front end. You also need to have uh, uh, a business analyst or the project manager, or to uh, who actually like creates the flow of the project, or the flow of the code. And you also need to have multiple developers here, like you need to have the database developer who designs and writes the code at the database level. You need to have a UI designer who designs the front end. You also need to write the business logic at the mid-tier level. So you may need multiple developers. So what is the first step? You need to create a prototype. Take ample amount of time, say 2 to 10 weeks, based upon your size of the project. You need to build a good prototype. What is the use of prototype actually? Why I need to, you might get the question, why I need to build a prototype? The key is if you go to any investors, first thing they want to know is what is your project looks like. If you show, if you tell them in words or keep it on a paper, they will not get it. But if you develop a prototype, they know your capability, they know about your idea, and you can convince them saying that this can be a huge success. For example, all the upcoming directors, they have not just gone to the producers and say shown the script and started directing, right? They will create a short film, they will show the short films they have directed, and if the producer is convinced, that's when he will give a chance to direct a big film. And say you have a prototype, you are not getting the investors. Many universities across India and across the globe also nowadays, they are conducting the hackathons. uh, do you conduct hackathons at your college? Anyone can unmute and answer to my question. Do you conduct the hackathons? Or you can also type in the chat box if you do hackathons at your college, or any of the students have been to hackathons before, or do you know what hackathon is? Okay. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So hackathon is generally a sort of a competition where you can present your project ideas, and they give a specific amount of time. They give a specific amount of time where you can develop and show your prototype. What is the reason to attend these hackathons? Thing is many investors, they focus on these hackathons and see what are the different ideas that uh, students are coming up with. Based upon that, they will see, oh, okay, this prototype looks good, maybe we can fund this. And even if you start a prototype, you know software engineering principles are still important for a project. This These are the key. The reason is, when you have the basics built with a strong level of foundation, you will be going to have a success. First thing is, you need to back create spec and requirements. You need to set up version control repositories. Like you can use you can have your own you can have your version control installed on premise like svn, or you can use the github. And at the regular intervals of time, you can review your code and refactor poorly designed code. So whom to review the code with? You can review with your professors. Ask okay, is my code looking good, or we can scale this code, right? We need to do some unit tests and some system tests. Also, you need to do a daily automated tests also. Now we are saying like, yeah, we have built a prototype of this, like, we are doing the testing by ourselves. But it's not just enough. We need to also speak to potential users and ask them to do a usability testing. What is the use of this? The use of this is like, we might miss many of the scenarios which potential users will not miss, because they are in the field, they know different scenarios to test. So it is always uh, good to have some potential users to test your prototype. And at the same time, you need to examine your code for any security vulnerabilities, how the performance is, is your code reliable, or someone can hack your code, right? uh, the other key thing is like, what is the performance, right? For performance level of your code. When I say performance, say if my if my page is responsive with 15 to 20 seconds, how can I decrease it to less than 5 seconds, right? Peop- See, the end targeted user community nowadays are not that patient. So if your page is responsive for 20-30 seconds, they say, oh, okay, this is too slow, I will go to some other site, right, where I find the responsive uh, of like, less than 5 seconds, right? For example, say if Amazon.in is responding with 30 seconds at this instant, how many of you go and shop at Amazon when Flipkart is responding like, less than 5 seconds, right? uh, I go back to Flipkart. There comes the most important thing is money. Do you need funding to build your prototype? Sometimes yes, I may need money to build my prototype, because I might have to buy large scale computers or servers, right? And also to pay some core employees. You might employ some designers. You might have to purchase some equipment. You might also have to pay license to use the intellectual property, because if you have to use uh, um, Windows servers, obviously you have to buy Windows license. And also, like, you also have to, if your project is big, you might have to rent an office space where your team can sit together and work. Anyone has any questions? I hear some. Hello. So now, like, the main thing comes, right? Till now, like, we have just discussed how, what is a startup, what is a prototype, what are the requirements of that, and then comes the money and the investors. This is the key. You might have billion number of ideas, but you need to find the right investor, right? So angel investor, what is the investor? Angel investor is an individual who provides initial capital for your business startup. You will not expect that money back, but uh, what he expects is a share when your product goes live. He asks for the ownership equity, right? It's a win-win competition. And angel investors are like, the accredited investors to comply with government regulations, obviously. And if they like the idea, they don't think the second time. They just like, invest the amount. The other thing is the venture capital. Venture capital, like, these are the financial resources given to early stage companies. So once your prototype is ready, angel investor has invested some amount, and your prototype and everything is ready and it is ready to go, uh, you might still need some additional funding to go big. There comes the venture capital. and you might need venture capital at different levels, like at the growth level or at the expansion level. And getting the venture capitalist is the key. Venture capitalist won't fund just anyone. They weigh in different factors. You need to convince the venture capitalist that you have a good idea. People definitely like this idea, and it is going to be profitable. It has a growth potential. You have a good team to execute your idea, and you have the legal right to produce the product or own a relevant IP. So you can show them, okay, I have this IP, uh, and we can use this idea to go big. Other sources of funding can be like government funding, or you can go for a bank loans. Uh, Public equity comes very later in the picture. You can also go for crowdfunding, like Kickstar has done. You can go for the crowdfunding as well. Here comes the most important one, the startup incubators. We are good to we are very like fortunate to have incubator in Hyderabad, like T Hub, right? Incubator will like support successful development of startups by providing the business resources. They do marketing and networking advice. They give help on the computing resources like servers. You will get to have access to the financial advisors at the cost of at the nominal or very less cost. You can have access to loans and banks, because it's a pool of resources. Obviously, you'll also get access to the legal advisors, and also to angel investors or the venture capitalist. So if you think you have a good idea and you already started up with some idea, my suggestion will be like go to T Hub and like get in touch with them. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Your presentation is not viewing, sir.
Oh,
Sir.
it just stopped, or like from long time.
Okay, sir.
Oh, you would have stopped me. So are you guys listening, or like
No, no, sir. Listening, sir. We are all here only.
yeah, stop me, like at any point of time. Please stop me if you're not
Uh,
seeing.
sure, sir.
Yeah, please. Okay. So if uh, if you really have any good idea, and you think like you already have some kind of prototype, like approach these incubators, and you will be having a huge success. Obviously, like your own boss at the startup. There are like pros and cons with the startup. The pro is like you will be motivated because you are your own boss. You will be having the smaller team. You may be given stock in the company. So say for example, your friend has started the company, and if he asked you to join, obviously like you are the very first or the second or very first few employees. They will offer you the stocks in the company, and uh, y- y- there is a like chance to get rich if company becomes it, obviously, right? And what is the like cons? Obviously, like they will pay less, right? You will have less perks. Job security, like if company fails, you might not have security, and you might have to work long hours at the startups. So why, many of the startups fail. Up to 75% of the startups fail because of these reasons. They don't find the right angel or VC funding, uh, wasting too much money at the early stages. Uh, a company does not begin with the best people. You need to have the best team to develop a successful startup. Uh, and as too many people too quickly. So you need to be, this is the key, you need to be very careful when hiring the resources. If you have if you find a resource who can develop a code, uh, you can find a resource in these terms, sometimes you can find a resource who can do a work of 3 or 4 people, because he is a fast learner, he is intellectual, he has good analytical skills, right? At that time, you have to pay only one person instead of paying 3 or 4 persons. So you need to be very careful when hiring the person. uh, if you hire the wrong people or people with the wrong skills, obviously you fail because you end up paying them and not able to successfully monetize the idea, right? You need to monetize your idea. Whatever your idea you have, you need to monetize the idea uh, to be a successful startup. Yeah, with that I am pretty much done. Uh, Sir, if any student have any questions or any sort of interaction, we can definitely do now.
Yes, sir. Dear participants, so if you are having any queries or questions in your mind about the startups, please post it. Otherwise, you can post in the chat box.
Yeah, anything is fine. You can post in the chat box, or you can also, like, you know. So, students, the first key thing to be to grow up, or to start any startup, your communication needs to be good, and you need to be bold enough, and you need to be bold enough to ask questions. Okay, Divya Prakash, how do you got the idea to start? How do you got the idea to start your own company? Okay, that's a good question. So when I was in third year uh, of my engineering, right? Myself and my other two uh, friends, we started. Uh, we started working on an common idea. At that time we got an idea of building a online examination. Right now I think you guys have the online examination, but at that point of time there was no online examination at the college or the university level. So we got this idea, and we built the prototype, but at that time we did not find the any angel investor or anything, and then we had to depart in our own paths. At that time, I still want to start my own company, regardless of whether it's a startup or uh, not. My company is a not startup company because I don't have any innovative idea or anything. When I flew to US, I saw many people having their own tech companies. They don't have their own idea or anything. They are just doing the service, uh, and then earning a lot of money. That's when I got an idea of to whatever company I was servicing. uh, Instead of doing as an IT consultant, I quit the job, started my own company, and become a vendor for them, started providing the services. At the very beginning it was just two of us, myself and my friend, doing the service. I was working late nights to execute the projects and everything. Once we had enough resources of money, that's when we started hiring people and expanded our domain also. Initially, we were only doing ERP support. Now we have the DBS support. We have support for the cloud software. We have multiple verticals in our company now. The only thing you need to have is the determination. Age doesn't matter. Say even now, if my company goes down to zero, I'm still confident enough that I can build from zero. That's what is lacking in today's youth. You need to be very determined. So it's just not the technical startup. Forget about the startup. Forget about your college education. You need to keep rewinding in your mind, saying that I can live by myself wherever I am placed. And the other thing is, you need to love what you are doing today. If you're not loving what you are doing, you will not move further. For example, you don't like the CSE branch, you got placed in CSE branch. If you don't love uh, your CSE branch, you will not move forward in your life. Love your CSE branch and work on how to move forward, right, with what you want. Say if you want to if you want to start some business, right, instead of joining in the CSA branch, love what you're doing right now. You might be here for some reason. Love what you are doing right now and focus on how I can go what you want. How to raise funds for a fintech company? It can be any company, not just a financial technical company, but any company. As I said, you need to there are sources of raising funds: angel investors, venture capitalists, right? You can also approach an incubator like T Hub, where you will find uh, many investors. Or you can crowdfund. You can ask your friends, make them shareholders. You can work with your professors, to help them and give them some share. That's how it will work. How do we approach the investors? Obviously, you need to, as discussed in the presentation, you need to have a good prototype. uh, Once you have the good prototype, you can go to anyone, you need to make them believe that it is a successful idea. For example, if someone comes to me and they show some successful idea and show me a prototype, I am ready to invest 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, right? There are people who are ready to invest. You need to have a good prototype for all of that, and you need to convince them. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, IPO is the public initial public offering. It's very later in the stage. First, you need to build your firm so much strong that it is at least it is more than 100 crores. That's when you can think of IPO, initial public offering. To do an IPO, obviously you need to fulfill many things. You need to apply before SEBI. You need to get government approval, all those approvals. That is a totally different topic. It's very early in the stage of a startup to go for an IPO.
Sir, now we are
Yeah.
in second year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What knowledge or what technologies we need to acquire to do projects or any startup?
See, for any startup, technology is not important. In that aspect, even to after your engineering also, technology or language is not important. The idea, the functionality, the basics are important. Say you might be learning C, Java, um, right, in your engineering, right? Those are the basic. Or you might be having the basics of artificial intelligence or machine learning in your third or fourth year. Whatever you learn, right, just have basics strong. You need to have a strong level of foundation. Today, when we started our engineering, C, Java was there, then .NET, right? After that, we have many other languages. Now Python for machine learning and everything. Tomorrow it will be a different language. So idea is the key. If you are strong in one language, the basics, when I say strong, the basics, your basics needs to be strong. If your basics are strong, you can survive in any language. With any language you can survive. So right now, if you ask me, yeah, you can learn Python in the current industry, at the current level, today. But tomorrow it can be a different thing. There are many new languages that are coming, day after day. And also, now it's with many minimal coding, you can develop the applications. There are many frameworks, I would say frameworks. For example, the products we work on, we do a minimal coding. All of them are built upon the ADF framework, the Oracle ADF framework, or the ASP.NET framework, where you just grab the fields. Yeah, there is a coding, but the minimal coding. You just grab the fields and develop the screen and the business logic. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
As we are in second year now, what
Hmm.
should we do for to get a good placement in the fourth year, sir?
Okay, you are in second year. What you need to do you need to do to get a good
Means
placement?
what should we learn new technology to get good placement, sir?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See,
Hello.
yeah. So don't don't focus on the technology. Focus on the basics, and focus on your communication skill. Focus on your aptitude and analytical skills. That's what a company will look for a fresher. From a fresher, this is what a company looks for. They will not look for, they will not ask to develop a screen when they're interviewing, right? They might ask, about your algorithms, data structures, the basics. If your basics are strong, if your communication skills are strong, if your analytical skills are strong, you will be placed in any company. So just come out of this mindset saying that, I need to learn this language or that language. Whatever you are interested in, learn with strong basic foundation. You will be successful. Okay, so I need to do a art stop now. But if you have any questions, you can reach me out. Kasreddy sir has my information. You can reach me out anytime. Okay, just give reference of Kasreddy sir, and I will be more than happy to help you out.
Thank you, sir. Still, participants, if anybody is having any question in their mind, you can post it. Okay, thank you, sir, for your wonderful session about startups in the today's
Yeah, no
era, sir.
problem. Yeah,
And also, you have given the importance of prototype designs before
yeah,
developing the projects.
yeah.
Sir, few of our students are very interested interested to begin the startups, and
Mm-hmm.
also our third year students they propose to innovative ideas, sir, and relationships. So they are
Okay,
working, sir.
okay.
Really, the session is very useful, sir. So
Sure,
in due course of time, definitely, sir, our students through reference will contact you, sir, for your suggestions.
sure,
And
definitely.
participants, we have shared the feedback form and also link to your registered email. And if anybody is having any participant is having any query, sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would also love to have sometime, like, once this pandemic ends, like, we can also have a live session. I would be more than happy to, like, visit your college and do a live session as well. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sure. And now I like to present the topic. Very good afternoon to everyone.
Thank-
On behalf of our department, I express my sincere thanks to the resource person, Mr. K.V. and Reddy, sir. And also I thanks all the participants for their active participation. Thank you, sir, for your patience. And also I thank our department head, Dr. Santosh Kumar, sir, and also our innovative council convener, Dr. Narasimha, sir, for providing and motivating us to conduct such events, sir. I thank the dean, sir, as well as our principal, sir, for permitting us to conduct such type of events, sir. Thank you for the session, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
No problem.
Stay
Anytime.
safe.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay, thank you, Narasimha Reddy.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you to everyone.